So Pokemon Z to A is about to come out on the 16th, and the big question on everyone's mind is, which starter should I choose? This is obviously a very Gen 6 focused game, but it has a double Gen 2 and a Gen 5 starter to pick from. Each of these three Pokemon are like kind of, in the middle of the pack or at the bottom of the pack. So it's kind of like, which one should I pick? Today, we're going to be kind of going over each of them. Now, obviously, we're going to be seeing some differences because, I think we could read between the lines that each of these are going to be getting a Mega Evolution, and we're going to kind of speculate what we think that's going to be, but at least look at the base stats, base weaknesses, advantages that each of them have with, not only the base starter, but also with the final evolution. Before we get into that, know you can follow me over on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch at Byrdman778. Give a like on this video. Let me know something you're interested in seeing down below Pokemon related. This is actually my first Pokemon video, so any help there would be very much appreciated. Make sure you're also subscribing and becoming a member. So our first starter that we're going to talk about is going to be Chikorita. Chikorita is by far probably one of the weakest and least favorable starters in the entire game. And I'm kind of back and forth about this. I kind of like that they add in Chikorita for this game because bringing kind of lackluster Pokemon out of the vault and bring them in these games, especially when Mega Evolutions are going to be a thing, and giving them a whole new kind of facelift and abilities and whatnot is actually a really good thing. At the same time, it could be a dice roll and you could still end up by the end of the day just being a lackluster Pokemon with a lackluster Mega. But Chikorita as a whole is a very cute and adorable grass Pokemon from Gen 2, joins alongside Totodile and Cyndaquil. Obviously Cyndaquil was a starter in Pokemon Arceus versus this one that's going to have, obviously Chikorita and Totodile. We're going to jump straight into Meganium, talking about everything there because obviously that's going to be the final evolution. That's going to be the Pokemon that you're really taking into that end game, into those, big world battles and everything like that. And first, we're going to look at its base stats. Base stats are pretty mediocre, pretty meh across the board. Big reason why we say that is because it's a very much focused Pokemon into defense, pretty mediocre attack and special attack stats. Not terrible. You're going to get away with some stuff, especially with it kind of having more of a tanky vibe to it. But unfortunately, its weaknesses to fire, ice, poison, flying, and bug are going to be a big issue for us. Having 5x2 weaknesses, especially when it's a mono grass with even just mediocre defense stats as is, not even increased HP stats, is kind of worrying. Now, my speculation for the Mega is going to obviously be turning Meganium into a grass fairy type. I think that personally, because of the fact that Fairy is obviously really solid, works really well against, obviously, Dragon type Pokemon, which we'll talk a little bit about Dragon type here in a second once we get to Totodile, but it's not too bad all around. The biggest issue is going to be the fact that we are going to be turning this poison weakness ×2 into a ×4, since Fairy is weak to poison, and then you're going to be introducing in Steel as a weakness as well. So whether or not this is going to be good or not, I don't know. I think big things that they need to definitely do when it comes to the Mega is going to be obviously juicing up these stats, giving it some type of new ability all around. Overgrow is not too great, and Leaf Guard isn't too insane either, so giving it something else that's going to be able to really tank it out, I think is going to have to be a must. Kind of looking at the other Pokemon that we're going to be getting in this entire generation, we're going to be seeing Gen 6 starters coming in as well as the reintroduction of Gen 1 starters. So I don't know. I don't really know where Meganium fits and all that. So obviously I'm kind of putting Meganium at that third spot of probably not the one you should be picking. Next up on our list is going to be Tepig. I actually love Tepig. I think he's so cute and adorable. Love him very much. Has decent, all around stats. And, for Gen 5, I definitely still think it was probably second to third pick most of the time. Unfortunately, it was the third firefighting starter in a row behind, I guess, Blaziken and Infernape. Yeah, it's just kind of really strange that they chose to do that all around. So kind of going into, when we're talking about Emboar, let's kind of go over stat breakdown first. HP attack stats are off the charts, really great. High HP is definitely gonna be able to take a punch and, deal it right back. Kind of mediocre defense and special defense stats. Not too bad special attack stats, but obviously you're gonna be definitely going more into those top two sections there, the HP and attack. And kind of on the slower side of things, he's a big boy, so obviously that's kind of baked in there. When it comes to our typing disadvantages and everything there, obviously adding in that fighting type into, Embor is going to be giving us the fighting issues as well. So before just having, water and ground as a problem, now you're adding in flying and psychic as well as a ×2. So definitely some problems there. Obviously you're getting some better stuff against like steel or dark types, but all around, I'm kind of back and forth on that. Abilities wise as well, Blaze and Reckless, not insane. So I'm really, again, kind of the same thing with Meganium. I'm hoping that some type of, new ability will come in for the Mega Evolution to help out. For the Mega Evolution, I mean, honestly, just keep juicing up HP and attack. That's going to be its best thing. I don't really see where they can, change this guy up all that much. So that's kind of why, like, again, talking before about undervalued Pokemon getting brought into these side games and given a bit of a facelift. Embor is definitely one of those that can take advantage of that. But what they are going to do, I have no real idea. We'll see with time, especially with the Mega Evolution, if it's even going to be worth it. Again, looking at the other 2 generations that we have, like, I would still rather probably take, for Fire type Mega, either of the Charizards, or again, Delphox looks really freaking sick as a Mega. So kind of lean more that way. And finally, at number 1, Totodile. I think this was kind of an obvious one from the get-go. He's a cheery, beautiful little boy who just wants to chew on things all the time. I definitely was really happy to see him get added in. I think a lot of people have been begging for, those Gen 2 Megas, I think specifically for Totodile, eventually leading into Feraligatr here, who is just like, just the same exact thing as Totodile, just a little bit bigger and a little bit scarier looking. Stat breakdown-wise, obviously great attack, HP, and defense across the board. We like what we see here. Honestly, has a really good move set as well to work into, especially like things like Dragon Dance. So definitely excited about that, especially once we come into the Mega. Typing right here, obviously we see the basic, just like mono water stuff, electric and grass being a problem for us. So not too worried there. But again, my speculation for the Mega, I think it's going to be a water dragon type. And with that, obviously we're going to be adding in things, like fairy. Ice is probably going to get changed, to more of a neutral. But obviously, again, that fairy typing is, and obviously dragon as well is going to be a bit of an issue there. With that though, for its stats, I, again, really hoping that maybe they just kind of boost up speed just so you're not having to rely on Dragon Dance as much. Again, he already has so many different, dragon type moves in there as well to work with. Dragon Claw, Dragon Dance, Dragon Tail, so a lot of good stuff there to mess with. Outrage as well. You can do Breaking Swipe. So a lot of good stuff to play with, especially with a physical attacker like Feraligatr. So all around, kind of our breakdown of who we think is best to least. Obviously, Feraligatr, I think, is going to be number 1, followed by Embor, and ending with Meganium. I really do hope Meganium, though, of them all, kind of sees the biggest facelift. I just don't think this is like a terrible Pokemon. It's just the fact that from the get-go, they just did not show this Mon that much love. Just felt like, hey, you know what? We need a 3rd starter, so this is just going to be who we're going to put out there, and this is going to be their, everything about them. So again, seeing that grass fairy type might be great. Obviously, we're going to be seeing massive disadvantages to poison type, and also the fact that I think like the main villain of this game is going to be a poison style gym. So obviously, your starter tends to be your one Pokemon you use through 90% of a playthrough. Having that massive advantage with like a final boss obviously isn't going to be great, but that's just speculation there. All around, again, I'm pretty excited. Obviously, 2 of these Pokemon are definitely on the needs a facelift side, and then Totodile to Feraligatr is just a solid choice all around to have. And I just want to emphasize again, you're going to have Gen 2, Gen 1, and Gen 6 Mega Evolution starters available to you. So you can kind of, if you're like one of those people who like, I want to have all 3 of the starters on my team 24/7, you can kind of mix and match these in a really solid way. I think my immediate reaction is doing Mega Feraligatr with a Charmander to Charizard, because I'm a child. My first Pokemon ever that I picked has just become my personality forever type thing. And then finally with the Gen 6, maybe like trying out Mega Chestnut with the grass fighting, because it's like not a terrible thing. Obviously you got ×4 weakness to flying, but also not terrible. Can't be too mad. Or you can do, you know, a whole lot of other things. But all around, yeah, probably Feraligatr is going to be my #1 pick. If this video was helpful to you at all in any way, shape, or form, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm definitely going to be making some more Pokemon content here soon, so any love and support is always appreciated. Make sure you also follow me over on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch at Byrdman778. Get a like on this video, subscribe, and become a member. Guys, thank you so very much. I hope you have a great night, day, whatever it may be.